Hi, this is Kimberly. Well, shit in a bucket. I somehow fucking gave myself pink eye. I know we aren't supposed to be touching our face, but I have this really bad habit of feeling for any stray whiskers that pop up on my face ever since I hit middle age or whatever the hell you want to call it. You know, where you stop being all pretty and cute and shit and you start looking a little rough around the edges. But yeah, I like feel my face while I'm zoning out on the computer, and I even keep my little round magnifying mirror and tweezers here at the computer for this exact thing. So when I see one pop up or feel it, I can get that sucker right away. Sometimes I have to go out on the back porch where the light's good, sunlight, and then my husband will open the door and pull me by my arm and say, the neighbors are looking at you and they're calling. But yeah, I woke up yesterday morning and my damn right eye was welded shut. I had to stumble to the bathroom and, splash water and shit till I could get my eye open. And oh my God, it was gross. I'll spare you the details. But anyway, I scared myself because I saw that damn pink eye can be a symptom of that stupid ass coronavirus, as well as a low grade fever, which I've had. Yeah, I take my temperature like every 15 minutes. I'm a damn hypochondriac, but my husband's been running a bit of a fever too, but we're not experiencing any breathing problems, so stop hollering and stop typing in all caps for me to go to the emergency room. I will if I need to. If I have to go to the ER, I want to go in style, though. I've never ridden in an ambulance before. With this COVID-19 bullshit, healthcare professionals are urging people to regularly refrain from touching their face. So, take a lesson from me and my dreadful, hideous, horrific pink eye. And just a fun fact, according to a 2015 study in the American Journal of Infection Control, God, that sounds exciting, people touch their faces more than 20 times an hour on average. It should be noted, our eyes, nose, and mouth act as pathways to the throat and lungs. So beware, if there's pieces of little microscopic pieces of shit everywhere. Just imagine you go in the grocery store and you get a cart and you're pushing along, and usually you go directly into the produce section. You pick out some grapes and some carrots and apples and shit, and you put them up in that little seat thing. Well, an hour before you did that, there was a little snot-nosed brat sitting there with a leaking diaper. You know what I mean? So be careful. Be aware of your surroundings. God bless America. There is literally fucking shit everywhere. So just saying, watch out for yourself. But yeah, the governor got on TV yesterday and started lecturing us like he was our father, and was going off and told us that we're all grounded and under house arrest, and as of midnight Friday we got a shelter in place, and he's damn serious about this shit too. And if you get caught going out without having a damn good reason, then you're going to be issued a ticket, and it'll be a misdemeanor, and you'll be fined, and you could face up to a year in jail and all that shit. You got to be going to work, or got to be going to the hospital, or going to get food for your family. So none of this tomfoolery bullshit. Don't let him catch you not social distancing and shit. Land sakes alive, this is getting stressful. So then I'm like, well, I'm going to just go on Dollar Tree and place an order. Get a whole bunch of shit stocked up and all that, and it'll be cheaper, and, I don't have to worry about that social distancing thing and blah, blah, blah. So I get there, and damn it, they're not doing online orders temporarily. The world is changing. It's scary. But they want to have their stores well stocked, so they're not doing online ordering right now. It's like, I don't want to go to the goddamn store. Someone will turn me in for having pink eye, and then I'll have pink eye and be being the slammer. And then the governor went and canceled school for the rest of the school year. My daughters are miserable about this. I bet they laid on the floor and cried and shit. I know they're despondent, unhappy, melancholy, dejected, forlorn, pissed off, cheesed off, hot under the collar, fit to be tied, peeved, steamed up, bent out of shape, not amused, fed up to the back teeth. Do we understand one another? Please don't tell the governor. You understand me? I told my 8-year-old granddaughter yesterday that the governor was talking about kids like her that don't do all their schoolwork. She was not fazed in the slightest. Times have changed. And then for fuck's sake, then I went to check on my Amazon order. I'm like, where the hell is it? I ordered that shit last week. I'm a Prime member and I'm used to being spoiled. I normally get my shit the next day. If you just heard something that sounded like a cat in heat, that was my granddaughter. I think they're having fun. But anyway, but Amazon has deemed that my order is not a top priority item. So I'll get it when I get it. It's my flippin' coffee creamer. Damn it, this is a top priority for me. What has the world come to? And then I corrected someone's grammar on Facebook and I had a whole team of people come after me. Apparently, the correct use of your, Y-O-U-R, that someone used in a sentence as you're a fool instead of you're a fool is not important because there's a pandemic. The person said, you're a fool. Again, Y-O-U-R. And I said, you're a fool. Y-O-U''R-E. And it was like termites coming out of the damn woodwork. Grammar is important, damn it. It was such a fucking oxymoronic statement. And before everyone asks to friend me, it's a bogus account that I have. I don't want people talking to me. I hate Facebook. I just use it for research and shit. And creeping. And I don't really creep on anyone. You know why? 'Cause I don't give a shit. I've been avoiding people long before COVID-19. And I'm quite proficient if I do say so myself. I was doing it before it was a thing. But let me wrap this shit up. Please enjoy this last part of the mashup, Bitch Fest. My daddy is a 𝓬𝓲𝓷𝓭𝓵. I'll be back real soon with my final thoughts on lovely Miss Lena's book. Y'all stay safe and healthy. I'm working hard to upload more often since many of you are under house arrest and shelter in place and all that other shit. But I've got 2 of my granddaughters scurrying around over here and I need to acknowledge their presence and holler at them when need be and shit like that. God, I love them. And y'all. Much love and peace. Thank you for listening. My God, to hell with the long-ass chapters. It was 27 pages on the Cloud Reader, and those bitches hold a lot of text. Miss Lena seems to have forgotten that not all of us have 12 degrees as she does. I need to be talked down to, damn it. She really wore me the hell out with that last chapter, and with this chapter as well. I have freaking undiagnosed ADD, and I have CRS, can't remember shit, and this chapter was long as hell. So I struggled, man, it's a struggle. Thank you to everyone that's been giving me more names to call Pinhead. It helps when I get tired and can't think up of some new shit. It's like giving you a bit of a shout out when I use them. It's a message that only me and you will understand, and then they're pretty much going to fail you in this area as well. So Miss Lena doesn't say this, but if I'm understanding her theory correctly, it stands to reason. But then again, I don't have 12 degrees, so else, and they would just flip the hell out. That just gets me to thinking because my mind always wanders. Sorry about that. Back to the chapter. I think that answers my question. If you get all fucked up during the most vital time in attaching from birth to 5 years old, then it will have a major impact on relationships later in life. No matter how ideal one's childhood is, no one comes out completely unscathed. End quote. Great. This is what I was talking about earlier, as I tend to go out of order and shit. That makes me feel better, knowing that we're all fucked up and do the fucking up in some way to our own children. Okay, so this sounds like my childhood home. I didn't know it was called a high conflict household. I just remember trying to sleep while my mother explained at the top of her lungs that my father was a goddamn bloody sod. He didn't disagree about that. He would just pour himself another drink and then pass out wherever he was sitting. Sorry, back to the book. Learn to shut off parts of ourselves we believe are shameful. For example, if we're told we talk too much, we may become reserved in order to hide the part that we're being told is unacceptable and needs to be repressed. Y'all, do you. Don't be all stifled in shit. Constantly brush problems under the rug and not address them, then the child learns that problems should never be discussed, and they do not learn how to deal with issues that just stick with us, like forever, like that hair you try and get off your hand in the shower that somehow manages to get lodged up under your boob and all over your body as you try to apply lotion. Oh, sorry, that's probably just me. Let me read that last part again, because you've probably got distracted like me. In childhood, Pinhead was reportedly quiet, shy, and socially awkward. Pinhead said his childhood was good, and he seemed to believe his needs were generally met. Fuckface said his mother Cindy was the, quote, more aggressive one in her marriage with his father 𝓵𝓸𝓿𝓮. His mom Cindy told him he was, quote, hard to read when he was a kid. He knew he was different than others, like the way he didn't feel emotions like other people did. Chris admires 𝓵𝓸𝓿𝓮, who would show up at all of his sports games. Pinhead's relationship with 𝓵𝓸𝓿𝓮 was the real deal, and Lunkhead felt like he could be himself around his daddy. I meant to consistently call him Chris throughout the part of talking about him as a minor, but of course I fucked it up. I had a bad habit of calling him names, or just a habit. I don't feel right calling a young child names, so sorry, Chris, on all those parts. According to Pinhead, when they left North Carolina, Shanann's brother and dad and the whole family was crying. This confused Lunkhead. He said he never saw his parents get like that when he left. Quote, was I born this way, he said, end quote. That's kind of sad, actually. Miss Lena is like, quote, I do not blame Cindy or Ronnie for Chris's lack of ability to deal with his emotions properly, end quote. I think that's one of those disclaimer things. The source of Cindy's relationships with her family was in Catel's book, God Almighty Son. In the book it said, Cindy and her mother did not get along, living just down the street. Her mother tried to control Cindy, tell her how to raise her children. Although his grandmother was extremely negative, that didn't rub off on Christopher, end quote. Okay. From the day Pinhead was born, Chris already had emotional vacancies, a brush things under the rug type of household, other issues he was suppressing, dealing with in a mature way. He was almost jealous of Shanann's relationship with her family, like when her parents were boo-hooing when she left North Carolina, and so he could feel special, mesmerized by Nikki. He just did not see that that shit was not gonna last. Both the respect and the relationship. Dumbass, are we really going to believe the Daily Mail article after the whole plagiarism thing? Miss Lena says it appears Pinhead had always felt disrespected. When Chris went off to college and 𝓵𝓸𝓿𝓮 felt that a cocaine addiction was a good idea to fill in the loss that he felt, Chris was, as usual, aloof and indifferent about it. When you're an empty shell, stuff like that doesn't alarm you. Only just pretend shit isn't happening and keeping that stone face they all have. Well, except for Jamie, she always has that frozen smile on her perky and delightful face. Speaking of 𝓵𝓸𝓿𝓮's new hobby he took on, coke, blow, snow, white, powder, lines, rails, bumps, a naturally occurring stimulant that is one of the most popular of the hard drugs these days. It's highly advisable to stay away from the devil's dandruff. Secrets and failure to communicate just stoked agitation in the family. Cindy figured he was having an affair as she noticed money going missing while he was being all secret squirrel and disappearing and being sneaky, jumpy, and jittery horse shit. We just make up shit in our minds when we don't have enough information. This is true. He expected to feel hurt, but he didn't with normal human emotions. That's because he's not human. He's not civilized or moral or intelligent. He's kind of an unnatural beast-like android. He's a cruel, inhumane, and dehumanized savage brute. Some of his needs probably weren't met, in part because he wouldn't speak the hell up. Yeah, the squeaky wheel gets the grease. Only the loudest whiner gets what he wants. It means if you bitch loud enough, you'll eventually get your way. Fuckface did what he did best and just faded into the background and went about his business quietly. Since he wasn't all lively and shit, he needed to figure out ways to get people to like him. Chris and shit wasn't all loud and high-spirited like his sister Jamie. He said he never wanted to be like Jamie anyway, so he figured out all by himself that he should just always be a good boy. He wanted to be seen as kind, helpful, and quiet, so he could get some compliments, and he wanted to be all admired and shit. Then he grew into a nice guy, not to be confused with the nice guy that is genuinely kind and caring. This is the one who has ulterior motives. He believes that he conducts himself in a certain way and the world owes him for his efforts. He doesn't make clear what he desires and wants from the beginning and then becomes angry when he doesn't get what he wants. A real nice guy who is just nice but without expecting a reward for it. He's not that kind of nice guy. So, Pinhead worked hard to be a person everyone liked, respected, and admired. No one in his past had anything rotten to say about him, of his persona of perfection and goodness. He was one of the best students I ever had, the violent, abusive, and dangerous person. Yes, I agree. All he cares about is himself. Tell it, Miss Lena. Dumb fuck gets off on people thinking highly of him, approval of others for their self-esteem. They are cold-hearted assholes who are greedy for admiration. Miss Lena refers to Copycat Cato's book when she said repeatedly that it was very important to Pinhead what people thought of him. He wants to be seen as kind and helpful and shit. It bothers him when people hate him for being a murderer and judge him. Well, I'm sorry it hurts his little non-existent feelings. I thought he already knew that we hate him and call him names. He should let us know when he's able to emotionally process us calling him out on his bullshit. Pinhead liked that he claimed he couldn't be himself around Shanann and was always nervous around her. Supposedly he could be more himself with Nikolai, even though she wore the pants in that relationship, just as Shanann did. She must have told Pinhead that he was being himself, and he was like, yeah. But he waited when he got all butthurt when Tammy Lee started talking about how he'd sent a text to Cody Roberts the day Pinhead got all indignant and shit, saying, I wouldn't help. Blockhead likes to think of himself as Anna Darko's mythical being wearing a cape that magically appeared and rendered assistance. Yeah, stupid asshole really has his priorities in order, as always. What a dumb fuck. He really is a fucktard. An uninhabited fucktard. She says Chris relayed to Cato that he, quote, feels famous. He's very careful. He wants people to think good of him. It's very hard for him to be called a monster or to be called a murderer. He doesn't like that, end quote. Yeah, dude, you're famous. You have your own Wikipedia page. Damn, are y'all still here? It's a long chapter. Please hang with me. I think it'll get better. Then she says, much to my horror, that there are two Chris's. Oh God, perish the thought. Anyway, she says there's two Chris's. The perfect Chris, and then there's the repressed rage Chris. She said Pinhead got tired of wearing his mask and doing shit for other people. He had an inner conflict. Apparently, these nice guys like Lunkhead neglect their own needs and end up resentful, unhappy, and angry. Well then, they should have stopped being a fucking fake nice guy. They are dishonest, even with themselves, because they stuff down their feelings. They're secretive and manipulative. They give only to get something in return. Then they turn around and get all enraged and resentful and shit. They're passive-aggressive. Like their mother Cindy. They're passive-aggressive and express their disenchantment and bitterness in indirect ways. Well, this is me being passive-aggressive. Go fuck yourself. Oops. Guess I'm not so good at the passive-aggressive thing. They're full of rage, and they'll go the fuck off at unexpected and inappropriate times. They tend to be addictive to sexy empanadas and sexual compulsiveness. Do not look for a nice guy if you're single. Single people are not machines that you put kindness coins in until sex falls out. I'm talking about the fake nice guys. not the real ones. The poor, unsuspecting women or men think they have a real catch, and they are the best thing that ever happened to them. And then, as in this story, the knight in shining armor turned out to be a fucking loser in cheap-ass tinfoil. Starts in childhood. It's a coping mechanism. They seem to think that being who he is must be a bad and/or dangerous thing. Well, it turned out to be both a bad and dangerous thing, being Chris-ass at Watts. Feel valued, respected, special, and adored, but also resentful. Pinhead said he couldn't say no to Shanann, couldn't make decisions, and discarded his own needs in order to keep the peace. Well, isn't that classified as a chicken shit? It is in my book. So he just let everything fester inside, and the ticking time bomb finally exploded. He demonstrates unbelievable, inexcusable, indescribable stupidity. Why did he have to act like such a jacktard nitwit, moronic fuckwit, crusty, lathered up arsebacker, spunk trumpet maggot, sickening donkey spanking hackwhack, bowbag, stinky snot piss stained cabbage, arrogant expired coupon crud shingle, wretched wank stain, cockmobile asshole, shithouse, candy ass fanny flaps, yellow belly wazza, empanada suck nugget, weasel eye twat face, ass licking little fuck, good lord you fucking ass hat, squeaky grocery cart, overdraft bank fee, wank stain, jizz toss pot, massively revolting piece of shit, fuckity bye, I hope you step on a Lego barefoot. People have insinuated that Shanann drove 𝓬𝓲𝓷𝓭𝓵 to this because she was controlling. She says, quote, how does it make sense to excuse a man for killing his family because his wife was dominant? In a world where women and children are physically harmed by men way more than they are by other women, this is another way that validates violence against women and children, end quote. I love Miss Lena. It's not Shanann's fault that he is a pathetic, scared, weak, cowardly, girly man pushover who can't stand up for himself. She didn't sprinkle son of a bitch rotten fucking apple dickhead dust on him when no one was looking. I would call him a worthless sack of shit, but even a sack of shit can be used as fertilizer and serve a purpose. He just desperately needs to go to sleep, or be put to sleep. They just could not cope with what Son had done. God almighty, Son, what'd you do? Haul off the bodies or something? When Cindy was allowed to speak at sentencing as the grandmother of the victims, she spent the majority of her time blathering on about, I forgive you, son, I love you, his own narrative. No wonder Cindy was cross-eyed pissed. She liked making his decisions for him, and she was already fed up with him being married and Shanann taking her place. Amen, sister. That's some heavy shit, man. Thank you, Miss Lena. Fuckface was subdued, laid back, and introverted. Shanann was vibrant, extroverted, and emotional. When he was all enamored with her and shit, these qualities were attractive to Pinhead. Then it started pissing him off. Turns out that's kind of typical behavior. He started feeling inadequate with her. Well, he was inadequate. He was insufficient, not enough, deficient, unsuitable, lacking, incompetent, useless, unfit, and inferior. So Pinhead was feeling threatened because of his weak ego and sense of self. Shanann wanted him to take control of shit. She was at first attracted to his laid-back style, then got sick of him being a pansy-ass weakling. She was over him not being able to make a damn decision. He let people take over and then got all resentful and angry and shit, and running off to Colorado with Shanann like his damn pants were on fire. But he hated it. But he made it seem as if it were okay, and that's what he wanted. Your partner isn't trying to piss you off, but they unwittingly stir up some old shit from your childhood. Started with the people-pleasing shit in childhood. Damn, didn't anybody tell him that pleasing everybody is impossible, but pissing off everyone is easy and more fun? Of a lifetime of being pissed off by being controlled. Nikolai respecting him made her all alluring and shit to him. Sex is the ultimate validation. My takeaway from that is, if you are lonely, go snort a couple of lines, bumps, or rails, right? They met. He's a grown-ass man and capable of putting his foot down if he felt he was being treated unfairly. If he repressed parts of himself with her, he needed to take charge of that shit and express what wasn't working for him. Shanann figured this was his personality and that he didn't mind her taking the lead. When he flipped the script on her, she didn't know what to do or to think because she only knew one side of him. She had no clue about Cricky. He pursued the shit out of Shanann when they met. She was sick and in a bad place mentally and physically at that time. People with psychopathic traits are particularly good at detecting vulnerability. She told him several times to take a hike, but he wouldn't. He acted all kind and selfless, giving, and just a stack of stale baloney, and she couldn't fight it anymore. So what did she do? She gave in. And when he got tired of her, he killed her and their children. But nothing mattered anymore. Only Cricky mattered. If I never met Nikki, would I have ever thought our relationship was bad? Probably not. Eeny, meeny, miny, mo. You ain't nothing but a hoe. You think you're cute, you think you're classy. Newsflash, girl, you're freaking nasty. He still had the audacity to blame her. Furthermore, murder is an extremely psychopathic and antisocial way of dealing with problems. Because Miss Lena is beating my ass. She may be all petite and shit, but she's knowledgeable and wiry as hell with all of her degrees. I'm actually kind of flattered that she thinks I can understand what she's going on about sometimes. As a failed psychopath. Jesus, Mary, and Joseph. Alright, I've lost like 20% of you right off the bat. But damn, not only has Miss Lena been beating my ass, but a bunch of people in the comments were coming after me too. Stop telling me what to do. You're not the boss of me. Like, I thought this was my damn channel. It's fine, it's to be expected. I'll just take it all with a lump of sugar. Or make it Splenda actually, 'cause I keep getting my ass beat about my weight too. Fuck's sake, I can't put a video out without someone insulting me. It's my damn channel. I reckon it's better than no one coming here at all. Come on in, have a seat. I'll just block you if you're an asshole. That's what I like to do when I'm needing to take my power back. Oh, never mind. I'm here to review and criticize the book, so let's get on with it, shall we? I was probably born with empathy deficits. You think? Made him violent and sent him over the edge. I've not seen any signs of and all that bullshit. Miss Lena says Pinhead showed. You mean like when he had an unrestrained, crazy affair, ignored the family dog that was left in his care while his family was out of town? How he totally flipped on his wife from the man and husband she was used to torturing the shit out of her both mentally and with giving her an overdose of narcotics, and then eventually killing his loving wife and children. Yes, that. I'd have to agree that it seems like he became a flipping psycho madman in his 30s. I know I've wondered about this myself, and well damn, that's what I was just wondering aloud about CW. They are just out there hiding among us and no one around them is the wiser. Awesome. It's my opinion that these people do give off a weird vibe though, that you just can't put your finger on it, but you know it's there. But wait, crossing shit behind his wife or daughters with his hands on their shoulders or neck, and he seems to be daydreaming. I think he fantasized about this for a long while before doing it. Something about, I just somehow get the feeling that when he would get it and think weird thoughts to himself a while, like much longer than people probably would like to think, and where he is standing behind them and he has his hands on their shoulders or near their neck and felt that weird emotion that might have been anger that he didn't know what it was, fantasizing about crazy awful shit. It called CW a failed psychopath. See, he can't do any damn thing right. He doesn't even know how to be a raving lunatic correctly. Well, then he's not a human, right? Isn't that called a robot? I've been accused of being a robot, or rather talking like a robot. But See if this makes sense to you. CW is actually a robot and was poorly programmed by Cindy, and wires got all crisscrossed and shit in an experiment in artificial stupidity, which led Pinhead to start having the idea that he was human, especially when he met 𝓲𝓷𝓵𝓂, and things went horribly wrong from there. In a battle of the witless. Not the ones walking amongst us, waiting to blow. She didn't say that last part, that was me. It's a fear of mine. Maybe they could include the question of how many psychopaths live at your residence on the next census, and then require they fill out forms similar to our income tax forms, quick and easy, like those. And then they can study the people that aren't incarcerated. They can call it a psycho-verify audit. Are there any insane asylums left that we could ship some of these off to? Called I Am a Psychopath. I'm thinking her and Pinhead can be pen pals. I'm assuming she's one of those run-of-the-mill psychopaths that are walking around at Walmart and work at Anadarko and is sometimes the mechanic that works on your car. I think people should be required to tell us their emotional damage right up front. Then you don't waste your time like Shanann did with trying to communicate with them as though they are your standard human beings. This psycho lady around others of your kind and the world in general. My question is, how do you know you lack these emotions? If you don't feel them as you said, how do you know what to describe as different about you and your emotions? Someone points at it, and yes, we all agree that this is the color blue. But how do we know that what I see as the color blue is the same color blue that you see? We don't. Yes, it's a chair. It's a blue chair. But what if we are seeing and hearing different things? Yeah, we weren't even high when we discussed this. They, the psychopaths, and the scary part is that's nothing of their true self. It's a different person altogether. Things that others find stressful, such as a wildly dysfunctional family, just doesn't faze them or impact them at all. Well, Chris Watts was, and he's a psychopath. I wish his parents had been alarmed. That gosh darn it all, it sounded alarmingly like Chris Watts. Complete lack of empathy, remorse, and normal human emotion, completely unaware that she was married to a stark, raving, mad lunatic. And he became a failure at who he was. How do you fuck up being a psychopath? Psychopathic, a loser, a disappointment, dud, a bust, has been, underachiever, a lemon, an unsuccessful person, lame duck, turkey screw-up, dolt, fuckwit, clinker, fizzle, bomb, disaster, good for nothing, no account, goof off, dilapidated. You get the idea. When Papa Ronnie was snuggling up to Snow White in his desire to be a crackhead. As a teen, Chris and shit stayed home on the weekends with his empty head and no emotions. You know who it sounded like was being described to me was Sheldon from Big Bang Theory. If you guys ever watched that, God, I love Sheldon. Says Pinhead to her leans more towards a psychopath narcissistic type, leaning towards psychopathic/narcissist. I'm pretty sure Chris and shit turned out to be violent at the conclusion of the lives of his loving family. Psychopaths don't tend to commit suicide after their crime, as they want to be able to enjoy the reason they decided to do it. They want to sit back and watch the show afterwards, such as Lunkhead did, thinking he was going to continue his wild, endless summer and live as happily ever after with Nicoli. But he doesn't experience happiness, does he? This no emotion thing, I just can't wrap my head around it. How do you know you want something if you have a lack of emotions and shit? But he did know that he wanted to carry on his life with Nicoli without Shanann telling him he wasn't allowed to play with Nikki anymore. It makes so much more sense to me now that he's a psychopath, that is. In continuing to compare Asperger's and psychopaths, the front porch interview that Nimrod did blatantly stated he felt no remorse for his family, explains that Fuckface was able to conceal his lack of emotions as being a laid-back person He was cool, man. You know what? If it seems too good to be true, it probably is. If it looks like a duck and waddles like a duck and quacks like a duck, it's probably a goddamn duck, right? People close to Lunkhead, ICW's mother and sister, would constantly badger him about how he felt. They didn't know he was a walking time bomb. But I know I find this to be maddening when you can't tell how someone is feeling. He was doing that shit to Shanann at the end, and he wouldn't tell her what was rolling around inside of his peanut head. My thought is, since he was so cooperative and willing to help and shit all the time, she probably figured he was just fine, that he might even seem to be happy and content to her, until he wasn't, because he had morphed into Cricky, and no one understands Cricky except for Chris and Nikolai. Empty with no expression. I know that look that they're talking about. It was like a cheap hotel flashing neon sign. And now they know that his little red choo-choo has done jumped the track. What we humans call love and emotion. About the other stuff, who knows? But it came across as all weird and stuff. But Shithead wrote the same way in his messages of love to Nikolai. Based on his writing style, you would conclude that he was all enthusiastic, cheerful, sentimental, emotional and shit. Then you would meet him in person and a dead doorknob would show up and his receiver would be off the hook and you'd be like, what the fuck? This doesn't correlate. Miss Lena thinks the reason Pissface was nervous around his own wife is because he was acting the whole time. This just baffles me. It's weird. And it's not Shanann's fault that he was copying her and mimicking her. She probably just thought they were compatible. But since he had no emotions of his own, he had to copy Shanann. So his emotions, I guess if I can kind of make sense of it, would be like, think of him as being a piece of furniture, like an armoire. It kind of makes sense, like a barren, vacant armoire it's just bare and empty and has nondescript style. Just sits over there in the corner, nobody using it, except you can set your drink on it and leave those, little white rings, because it doesn't matter. He doesn't matter. Also mimicked Nikolai's personality, like when he started saying like all the time. It's no one's fault other than his own if he chose to copy them, and he had to think really hard what to say to Shanann because he was trying to figure out what her response would be. And to me, if he thought she was being bossy, it was because he always deferred to her. I don't think she even knew he was doing that he was deferring to her. How could she? He had no emotion and he was just copying her. So she thought he was just as super duper excited as she was. Candy cane Thrive bars are the best. He chose to mimic her. Yeah, these are super good and I super love them and I'm just super duper excited about it. Let's do a live. Shanann assumed he was doing what he wanted to do, right? And isn't it great that they all like the same things at all the same times and we are just so compatible? And I'm super duper excited. If you are mimicking me, then it stands to reason that I'm under the impression that the other person likes and dislikes everything I do. Therefore, we're a perfect match. Miss Lena doesn't say this, but I'm mimicking her in doing one of those surmising things. How the fuck was Shanann supposed to know if he was copying her? She just thought they were super compatible. To woo Nikolai, he was confused about what he was supposed to feel. Wisconsin interview / confession / horseshit thing. Quote, some people just need a high five in the face with a goddamn chair. Well, Pissface, you may have discovered ways to mimic being a loving and respectful husband, a man that cherishes his marriage, one who doesn't cheat on his wife. Who were you mimicking when you decided to have an affair? Then Miss Lena clears up a shit ton of my confusion about the no emotion stuff. Pinhead had some feelings, and that he wasn't totally void of emotion, that he felt rage, anger, and sexual desire. He was very confused about his emotions and didn't understand them at all, or when bigger personalities take up space in the home, important ones, and should be suppressed. Ah, bigger personalities. I will just say it out loud for everyone. His sister Jamie and his mother Cindy. There, I said it. Boys are often brought up in an environment that gives them the impression that it's only acceptable for males to have feelings of anger and sexual desire. Since C.W. had empathy deficits, he was Googling stuff about love a couple of weeks after Cricky Gold medaled in sexual Olympic gymnastics. It's my opinion he was mistaking lust for love. It's common for inexperienced and immature boys to do that, especially after they've had what they deem as good sex in their own special way. That clears up my ponderings. Damn, he almost sounds human sometimes. So yeah, all this stuff leads to him being a psychopath. I'm quite enjoying this chapter. However, it's very long and involved, although not as much as the 2 preceding chapters. I'm still hungover from that shit. But yeah, my ass has been beaten by the last third of this book because I had to run my mouth about it being another rehash of Discovery. Too bad I can't count jumping to conclusions and running my mouth as exercise. How does he know this? The same as others. He said he doesn't want to see the front porch interview. He seemed offended that people said he looked like he had no soul. So I take it he's in denial about who he really is. But his attorneys told Pinhead he needed to show more emotion. Is that what his leg bumping up and down really fast was? Was he trying to conjure up something? At this point I jumped ahead in the book to see how much of the chapter I had left. I went on and on and on. What the fuck, Miss Lena? Why can't it be broken down into more manageable bits? But I understand she probably felt like she was writing another thesis. She's written many of those. He doesn't want to think of himself as a cold-hearted person, but he is. Don't we always say, just be you, just be yourself? Just be that empty shelf that you are. Your tank is empty. You're a blank sheet of paper, and an empty nest, an empty promise, an empty threat, an empty stomach, an empty bladder. Douchewad, psycho ho, two-buck, gutter fuck, dog balls, twat hooks, beady-eyed weasel, shit breath, crowd unpleaser, Mr. Jizz Bucket, piss face, big fat lazy flaming asshole, fuck face and shit for brains, dipstick, brain dribbling muppet, malignant, window lick, evil murdering monster, tomfuckery cheating killer, bastard son of a biscuit eater, ass clown, shit stain, wank stain, yellow belly, piss stain, snot face, cabbage eater, coward, crack whore, deadhead, turd ball, swine, pencil dick, monster moron, bonehead, dirthead, nitwit, Neanderthal, Mr. Anger, reject, shyster, twerp, zitface, scumbag, nerd, jackwagon, douche nozzle, fool, freak, fugly, goose, gorilla, doofus, clunkhead, disgusting bad seed, scumbag. I hope you fall down with your hands in your pocket. I hope every time you're watching Netflix and it asks you if you're still watching that you can't find the remote. Metaphorically, of course, I know you can't watch Netflix. Haha. But people like CW that are psychopathic lack the silent code of how to behave around others, around you and the world in general, so I guess CW didn't know that he shouldn't murder his family. Instead of looking up love bullshit on the internet, how about how to tell your wife you've met someone else and you want to split? I'm sure Shanann would have been relieved to no longer have to pretend with her in-laws. She could see that you were on your own path anyway. Unfortunately, there's a psycho in front of it. Miss Lena says that perhaps Chris and Shit felt like he could get away with. Pinhead is the kind of person, being. My youngest daughter decided to hide in a round rack of clothing at Kmart when she was about 4 or 5 years old. All my blood rushed to my face and made it hot. Then all the blood drained from my face, and I nearly passed out. My mind raced so fast from how will I tell my husband, who is out of town on business, and would I go to jail? How would I be able to go on living? Things like that. After about 10 minutes, she reappeared. I nearly wet my pants from relief when I saw her. She reminded me of this the other day, and all those emotions came flooding back. Pissface acts as though he dropped a pencil on the floor and it rolled under the table. However, he did experience fear and panic. Think when they all went as a group to neighbor Nate's house to watch the security footage. Talk about wanting to wet your pants because you lose it. He could not be still. He was rocking back and forth and squirming all around. He put his hands on his head for Officer Coonrod to go ahead and cuff him. If we are to believe this version of what he told authority, I hope this shit is not true. I can't bear to think about that. A normal human being. Never mind. He's just an evil monster. Make sure to call him that over and over and over. He hates that. And he hates people thinking bad of him. Another clue of his fuck-up deranged mental state is I wish he had gone to North Korea and pulled a propaganda poster off the wall in front of a security camera. But fuckface had convinced his teacher that it was true that he went to China. A little side note here, you may hear my grandchildren in the background a little bit, so instead of an interruption, please think of it as joyful noise. But he was delighted that he had fooled her, but he's the fool. He thinks quite highly of himself and his intellectual capabilities. I almost choked on my coffee when I read that. Intellectual capabilities. Big deal. He's still a flippin' dumbass. Genius and insanity always go hand in hand. He says Nikolai asked him to, but aggression, lunacy, power, and violence. He was getting off on this, feeling euphoric and powerful. I'm so glad he is locked up forever. Hungry violence seeker, feeding off the weaker, psychopathic traits. Agreed. You know, I cannot relate to this crazy shit, thank God. There is no logical reason. No way in hell could anyone logically explain the stupid as hell shit he did. His sorry ass is in prison until he takes his last breath. He's trying to sound all normal and shit, lamenting, gag me. I cannot relate to this shit. I have to tell on myself for the slightest thing because I can't stand the feeling of guilt and deception. A couple of chapters back when we did the condensed advanced level college course on narcissism, he liked being a helpful boy that does good deed. He is extremely delusional. Like the way he got so happy when they told him that Shanann's family still loves him. They are more generous than I. One-time event that he made a mistake. He was possessed by an evil spirit. No to all of that shit. Get that shit out of your minds. He did this shit in cold blood. He doesn't even have the excuse of being drunk or on drugs. Miss Lena says he wasn't even mentally ill with psychosis. I looked it up and it's a personality disorder. So, beware. Don't be snowed by their bullshit. It's very, very easy to be taken in by these crazy assholes. Y'all, take a look at everyone in your life. Do you have a psychopathic communal narcissist walking among you? Learn from Miss Lena, please. Pinhead exhibits detachment from reality about the magnitude of his crimes. Yes, he does, doesn't he? It, quote, blew his mind. End quote. See, I've been telling y'all all along that he is a fucking fucktard. This proves it. And start going to jails and prisons and help inmates. Damn, he's delusional. He thinks, first of all, that he can get released for good behavior. See, he's still a good boy, just as Mommy taught him. He should be released so he can go on to serve God and everyone else. I think he truly believes he is beneficial to mankind. He believes his own fucking bullshit. Astounding. Fucking delusional fucktard. This took it to a level that I don't think a lot of people are still able to get their heads around. It's impacted the way. The ripple of one crime like this has been phenomenal. The first responders that had to remove the children from the oil tanks, they will never be the same. was the story of his path to redemption and his journey to finding God in prison. He chose 𝓿𝓲 probably in part because he wanted to control the narrative. She's a religious woman and not a journalist, so he might have felt she would paint him in a more favorable light, end quote. Yeah, well, she wouldn't have to mention she's a Christian if she just acted like one. And I'm not one to judge based on being a religious woman. I base it on whether or not they're an asshole. CW tried passing off that he was possessed by something evil. Yes, he is. Himself. He was possessed by himself and he is evil. But he wants us to know he was only possessed for a short time. He's all good now. Miss Lena says he thinks of himself as sort of a celebrity. Think for a moment, asshole. What kind of evil shit made you, quote, famous? Well, it's a crying shame, but he really does have fans. I guess they're entitled to their faulty thinking. They're probably a few bricks shy of a load themselves. His delusions of becoming a martyr and helping people are even more fully realized for him now that he is internationally known. I wish he had taken the advice he was given by other inmates to drown himself in his toilet, but instead he memorizes Bible scripture and tries to figure out his purpose in life and how he can help others come to know God and the Bible as he does. Where is his fucking off button? Fuckface has some traits on the communal narcissist checklist, such as, I will be well known for the good deeds I have done, and I have a very positive influence on others. Also, I greatly enrich others' lives. And let's add, I will be famous for increasing people's well-being. And last but not least, I'll make the world a much better place. Thank you, Fuckface Watts. You're awesome. Yeah, keep going. That he is now a man of God, a servant of God, and should be forgiven for his transgressions. He feels like this is the way to absolve himself of blame and guilt for what he did. Keep trying, asshole. It's impossible to know definitely what is going on inside of that peanut head, but knowledge is power and will help you spot red flags. So please take what Miss Lena says seriously and to heart more. And I would also like to add that in the 6 weeks leading up to the murders, he was clearly abusive to her. Her attempts to push Fuckface away from her as he unremittingly pursued her. Sandy told Shanann that Chris was sent to her from God. God Almighty, son. Don't tell him shit like that. Did Shanann tell him what Sandy said? I'm sure that just inflated his fucking ego over the top. No wonder he got such a swole peanut head and became such a pathetic attention-seeking bag of wind, wise guy whore. I told Bella I was leaving for work with Nikki and assured her I was always coming home. He found a new source, Nikolai. My God, this chapter is never going to end. It's impossible for a normal person to fathom their own children having the same value as garbage. It was all about what they were giving him. Love, attention, giving him purpose, or just making him look good. This is sad. They were just pure love for both of their parents. Your parents are the first love of your life, but that wasn't enough. Initially, he was thrilled that Shanann, who was beautiful, smart, and ambitious, would choose him. It made him feel important. But then he just became threatened by her, because Chris was so emotionally stunted and immature. But Nikolai may have rivaled him with her own disorder, psycho bitch. This is usually an affliction of the female gender, or a male with delicate womanly qualities. Symptoms include drastic mood swings, irrationality, needing to be talked down off a ledge, shouting expletives, bouts of jealousy, and are wild in bed and like to experiment. And thank God, this is where the chapter ends. Talk about the fucking never-ending story. I seriously went checking a couple of times just to make sure that it was going to end, that it wasn't some kind of joke, that I went on to the next chapter without realizing. I need a damn intermission, man. I'm so glad I don't have to act socially acceptable around y'all. Another long ass chapter, and oh my god, it's the last one. Now y'all don't freak out, don't start hollering and crying and shit. Frankly, I'd jump up and down for joy, but my boobs are too big for that nonsense. Just know I'm not going anywhere. I still have a final thoughts video, plus I'm gonna do a mashup of all my bitching, complaining, and hell raising that I did throughout the book. I did that when I finished the letters from Christopher bullshit. That amounted to about 3 straight hours of hell raising. If you missed those special little gems, I'll provide the link in the description. My late paternal grandma would be so proud of me. If one just closes their eyes and listens to me bitching, one may be taken back to rural Georgia in the 1940s and 1950s. Someone taking a leisurely Sunday drive would hear the hollering and echoing through the fields of cotton. My dad would tell horror stories of picking cotton until his fingers bled, going to school barefoot with a basket of eggs so he and his brothers could trade it for school lunch, and trying to plow fields with a stubborn-ass mule. He would often compare that mule to my mother after he had had dinner, read the newspaper, and gotten a few drinks under his belt. These photos are not my own depicting my father, but it really is very similar to his circumstances. And yes, just as you've probably heard before, the family really did take a bath on a Saturday night, so they would be clean and proper looking for worshiping the Lord at Salem Baptist Church on Sunday. My father and his 3 brothers had 2 outfits each. The outfit of overalls they wore all week to go to school in and work the fields in. And then they had their Sunday best. After church is when all the hell raising would start. Some toe-curling vulgar language would come out of Grandma's mouth, the same mouth that had just raised her voice to the Lord, singing hymns only an hour earlier. It would echo down the fields of cotton that were empty of workers just for the one sacred day. The cotton tried to absorb her foul language, but it was a powerful force. Just like Grandma, she was energetic, robust, strapping, strong, sturdy, vigorous, authoritative, commanding, and she had no damn time for foolishness. I'm told that I'm like her in many ways, except I don't have hell-raising Sundays, as they became affectionately known. I just get on YouTube and start spouting vulgarities and profanities. It's all cathartic and shit. Oh, what the hell was I talking about? Oh yes, the last chapter of My Daddy is a Big Fat Flaming Asshole Zero. People debate on whether or not Pinhead just snapped. Creepy and frightening. I'll say. We now know because of Copycat Cato's book was his intention all along. He was displaying reckless behavior, also known as a state of dangerous stupidity. It's about the infamous doll photo of 𝓿𝓲𝓼𝓮, and I do agree. Some have said Krasenschmidt meant to send it to Nikolai. Too bad he didn't accidentally send one of his nudes to Shanann when he was refusing to sleep with her. She probably would have whipped his ass so bad he wouldn't have been able to murder his family. She would have been like, "So, what's up with this shit?" And then he would have either had to perform sexually or give some sort of explanation for the dick pic. Poor Shanann was making light of it, having no idea it was a major threat from her psycho husband. His asshat is the most dangerous kind of person. No one ever suspected he could do such a thing of an evil monster like him. You very well could have one of these in your life right now. She felt danger in a big way, but like most of us, she ignored it. He has changed. I don't know who he is. I told him last night I don't feel safe with him after what he said about the baby. This fucking sucks. I really don't want to leave here. Listening to our gut. That's like the most important. That voice you hear, that weird, I'm not talking like, you hear voices, but you know what I mean. It's your inner self. That funny feeling you get of just kind of doom and gloom and you can't quite put your finger on it. Try to pay attention to it. This fucking sucks. and she tried so hard to mend her marriage. She was fighting a losing battle. Fuckface started hinting around to Shanann at the very last few days of her life that he was coming around, you know. Well, that shit didn't last long. Basically, he gave zero fucks at this point. He was no longer scared of getting caught from his wife, and he just wasn't going to hide shit anymore. So he boldly used his credit card for his date. Yeah, let's treat ourselves to a little more credit card debt. Responding to an email about fantasy football saying, "I'm in." Talking to his mistress, 𝓤𝓾𝓪𝓬𝓪. Well, I guess she could now be referred to as his girlfriend at this point. I was trying to decide if he's a 𝓤𝓱𝓪𝓷𝓴 or a fucktard or a twat waffle, and then I just thought, he's all three, right? And more. Caught off guard. How could he be so calm and normal? So-called normal acting. Him and Shanann would have been a normal couple if it weren't for him. That he made some major blunders by getting ahead of himself on launching his new life. He is just dumb fuck stupid. That's all one word, by the way. I save it for special occasions. This occasion is very fitting. In 𝓤𝓱𝓪𝓷𝓴's view, the newest pregnancy was a giant pain in his self-centered assholeness. He was acting like he had nothing to do with it and that Shanann had bamboozled him. Fuck him. As the one who takes the view that 𝓤𝓱𝓪𝓷𝓴 could be a failed psychopath, psychotic or traumatized from what he had just done, a shock to him that he was capable of doing this and was caught off guard. How could he be so calm and, quote, normal? Pinhead was the last person people would have suspected when this first happened. Neither was his neighbor Nate. Fuckface was acting totally unaffected by his family being so-called missing. He did not go about his plan in an intelligent or shrewd way, but it was in his own specialized way of doing things, says Miss Lena. However, I did find his problem, why it didn't work as he had anticipated. It's 'cause he's a fucking dumbass, and he's a failed psychopath. He can't even be a psychopath, right? Made so many stupid mistakes. If without plan, wouldn't he have done a better job of covering his tracks, end quote. I'm so glad she covered these questions. He would be overconfident and muddle up shit. Narcissists tend to think they are more intelligent than everyone else. They can't see the forest for the trees. But even if he was successful in making a grand plan, these are things that still could have fucked it all up. Nikki Atkinson jumping into action mode and calling the police for a wellness check. She was alarmed straight away when she didn't hear from Shanann, especially given that it was the day after a Thrive trip when she would have been super duper motivated and pumped. Dumbass knew she was always texting and communicating with her team, which he called her people. Having the police show up so soon gave Lunkhead less time to cover his tracks, although he did get to clean the crime scene from top to bottom that night after everyone left. He wanted people to believe she just up and ran off with the girls. It would be unethical of her, but she can do a bunch of that surmising stuff. But yeah, Lunkhead thought people would believe that Shanann ran off with the kids, and that everybody would feel sorry for him. Say there.
I was not worried. I just thought Shanann had run off with girls.
But then why would his dumbass if they ran off? But at the same time, dumbass, you didn't even know they were missing, supposedly. He thought he was being so smart, but he was just full of lies and contradictions. They just went to a friend's house for a play date, and then she got pissed and ran off. Just buggered off, moved on, gone away, fucked off, to leave someone in a state of anguish. Fuck out of here with that shit. But as I said, he thought everyone would feel pity for him, and he would be free to go ahead and start his new life as a victim of a spiteful wife who is the mother to his children that are being withheld from him because she ran off. Then Miss Lena asked the same question we all have asked. Why? Why the hell did you do this? But Pissface is clearly not a reliable source, considering how many lies he told. He's just a big fat liar pants. Big fat crybaby liar pants. That what CW has told in his tall tales are mostly true. Well, he's a goddamn liar pants, so we don't know if he's weaved a bit of truth into his 4 or 5 versions of what happened that night, morning, whatever. If his mouth is moving, he's lying. That's all I know for sure. I'm always disappointed when a liar's pants don't actually catch on fire. That pisses me off. Miss Lena says she doesn't believe this monster has the ability to have any remorse at all. I concur. Pissface does not ever have that uncomfortable sense of gnawing guilt or deep regret for his criminal offenses and misdeeds. He just doesn't care. Truly does not care. As in, it doesn't bother me at all. This is how I can stand in front of my house giving a light-hearted, vivacious press interview and be all smiles and shit. When he was whining and sniffling in his Wisconsin interview, he only seemed sad for himself. It was all about how he felt, or was trying to feel. He's dead inside. I wish he were dead on the outside too. When he finally does leave this earth, I hope they put him in a vat of oil. Actually, I prefer they do it while he's still alive, and it should be boiling. Can someone start a petition for this, please? So, which story is true, D.A. Rourke? That does not match up with what you and Mr. Rousick said at sentencing. So which story is true, Inspector Gadget? It can't be both ways, that he hauled the bodies out to the truck. God almighty, son, what'd you do, haul off the bodies or something?
The cameras do not lie. You carry them out like trash.
The defendant then methodically and calmly loaded their bodies into his work truck.
It can't be both ways, asshole. I mean, Mr. D.A. Rourke. Sir. The Kristen should have built over a lifetime was crumbling just 2 days after he did this shit. Things were not going according to plan. He lost the new life that he wanted, and everyone, including co-workers, were finding out that not only was he an adulterer, but a murderer. And they not only knew how he disposed of his family, but some of them had to come and assist at the scene. That was hard for Pinhead to handle. Plus, people were being mean and asking lots of nosy questions. He didn't like that. He wanted it to stop. Fuck you all to hell and back, you stupid piece of shit. Now he thinks he's a celebrity. He should have been smothered at birth. The reason he chose murder over divorce was he felt like this option gave him a clean start. The only clean start is, if you had gone back to your mother's womb, you dumbass, you should just go back there and stay there. But, in his warped peanut head mind, he was just wiping the slate clean. Yeah, let's start over if we don't like our life. He wanted to get that slate wiped clean, right? For his new fantastic life. Murder of a pregnant wife and 2 young daughters are not representative of who he really is, end quote. Alrighty then. It makes no rational sense to us. That's because we apparently aren't psychopathic narcissists. Pissface said at first he did this shit, quote, in a fit of rage because Shanann killed the girls while he was downstairs minding his own business, making his lunch. And then he gave his oxymoronic statement that he killed the girls because he claimed Shanann said he would never see the children again. So yeah, it makes sense you would follow that up with killing them, the children you were just told you weren't gonna see. His latest confession was that he planned it and he wasn't in a rage, and that an evil dark force had overtaken him. But the evil spirits are gone now, and according to copycat 𝓚𝓲𝓼𝓮𝓵's book, he did somewhat of an exorcism alone in his jail cell, so the dark evil shit is gone now. He is no longer a threat to the outside world. He is back to being a good boy, and he wants to become a religious preacher man when he grows up and gets out of prison for his good behavior. Oh yeah, and he regrets what he did now. He has some of that remorse stuff. Why we snap, understanding the rage circuit in your brain. It's a wealth of important information on understanding the root causes of violence for mentally healthy people, and they can snap in the right situation. they become overwhelmed. Well, fucktard doesn't fall into that mentally healthy people category, but he does fall under that batshit crazy umbrella. Not only does he have bats in his belfry, but they've been there so long that the belfry is now covered in bat shit. Hence, batshit crazy, the triggers that unleash violence. As a species, we need to protect ourselves, our young, and our family. Humans have it in their nature to protect their young, not murder them. This is another reason I do not believe 𝓤𝓲𝓷𝓭𝓪𝓷𝓵 to be human. Miss Lena says, quote, "We all have aggressions. We are all capable of violence. We have to decide if we want to be violent. Most of us will if we deem," he says. And then the doctor just starts nannering on and on and on about neuro stuff and the brain's rage circuits and how when the hypothalamus has been inactivated, aggressive response fades away, stuff like that. And it just got to be a bit much for me. Thankfully, he gave an example for us regular folk that don't dissect human brains. Say, for example, someone bumps into you in a crowd. Your immediate response is to tense up and feel a twinge of anger or annoyance. However, if the person says, "Oh, I'm sorry," that anger and annoyance melts away almost immediately. This is because you realize that your rage was a misfire. Are helpful ways for people to deal with rage and could potentially stop violence from occurring. End quote. This is what lunkhead should have been studying instead of Googling love letters. Yes, he really did Google love letters. Specific triggers that trip the rage response in humans to not immediately jump on shit. Also known as jumping the gun or your knee-jerk reaction. Restrained, cornered, imprisoned, or impeded from the liberty of pursuing one's desires will trip this trigger of rage. This crime was to start a new life with Nikki. Chris's rage at his wife, he wanted to start a new life and felt that Shanann and the girls were in the way of that blissful riding into the sunset fantasy bullshit life he had. In the copycat case, Chris indicates overwhelming piss-offedness towards his wife and daughters. This lying sack of shit describes being enraged that Bella and Cece were still alive after his initial attempt to smother them. When he pushes Shanann's body into the shallow grave face down, he describes being so furious with her that he didn't feel the need to change how she landed. God, he's a fucking monster. Or if they are just devastated because they've ruined their lives due to their actions, and regardless of whether his remorse is genuine, he can see that killing his family was a horrible idea. I hope so, but I don't think he has remorse. The only remorse he has is not getting away with it. Yes, I've always thought to myself it would be helpful for me to understand violence from a neuroscience point of view. Not. Please. Y'all, this last chapter is more than I can bear. I feel like I'm in 12th grade again, sweating in my science and math classes, thinking I wasn't going to graduate because this shit just did not make sense to me. This is way more involved than I wanted to get in reviewing a book. I'm not having fun anymore. So this last part of this very long and involved chapter, I'm just going to skip over a few things. I mean, shit, I'm already like a half hour into this and I'm not done yet. I'm telling you, if I were reading this book on my own, I would have given up by now. Defense attorneys are always looking for this kind of excuse that they had no control. However, we don't commit murder or hurt others. Most of us certainly don't plot the murders over because it goes against our basic human code. There's something in us that stops things from going too far. And only in extreme situations where we may have to defend ourselves from injury or death would we ever resort to violence. Chris 𝓲𝓷𝓭𝓪𝓷𝓴 made selfish decisions. In many ways, he was the architect of his own stress. That sounds like the shit I was talking about a couple of weeks back. We create our own drama. That's Kimberly's wise shit to say. There are people who have had way more stress in their lives than fuckface, and they would never make the choices he did. Sometimes smart people get duped more because they think they're immune to it. I'm going to shorten this shit up a lot. Miss Lena goes into great detail explaining these signs. I just can't. I'm so over this. It's not that I don't want to help you. It's just these last few chapters were extremely long and extremely involved, and I'm over it. Me and my fibromyalgia shit are over it. Me and my ADD shit are over it. But despite that, let's finish this. I don't quit shit. Like, I don't quit my bad habits. I'm not going to quit this shit. So that was me having one of those outburst things that Miss Lena was talking about, but I didn't get all violent and shit. I'm too tired and I don't have the strength to be violent, but if I could, I would throw a tantrum right now. As I said, I'm over it, but let's finish. Show extreme empathy deficits. If somebody is ready to discourage you and get rid of you without communicating or trying, it might be best to let them walk, says Miss Lena. I agree. Don't fight it. Let them go. Say, okay, bye. That your gut is telling you when something is very wrong. The most effective and accurate tool any human being has is their gut feeling. In prison, Chris feels more like an important man, the man he always thought he should be. He gets fan mail and love letters. His newly revealed confessions after, quote, finding God are making him even more of a global star. Chris says he now believes his mission and purpose in life is to help and serve others through God. Can y'all see my eyes rolling? I never knew I could have a relationship with God like I do now. That's the amazing grace in all of this. I know everyone has a purpose. I just hope I can find mine. I just fucking threw up in my mouth a little bit. That's right. That's right, we find out after the fact that they, like Chris and shit 𝓴𝓲𝓷𝓭𝓵, are a dickhole brain dribbling muppet, malignant window licker dickweed, covered in human flesh, ass hair, dumb and dumber, haircut piss weasel, bucket doorknob, not fast a scooter on the boardwalk, lame brain, kick rock, self-serving, farm bot, daft abbot, fuckwit, manipulative, 𝓬𝓱𝓪𝓷𝓭𝓵, bell end, evil asshole with no soul, late pillock, dumb shell, silly chuff, scrubber, fucking potato, chuntering, nutbuck, plebe, badass, smarty, horse's ass, trammel, goon gobside, pond piss, shitbag, ass-licking piece of buffalo shit, pushover ass face, self-centered, no conscience, dinkhead, gigantic flaming pile of shit, douche tart, his smug ass sitting in prison, freedom from all responsibilities and content, feeling he has been forgiven by God. Bless his delusional heart. You're crazy as showing, piss face. You might want to tuck it back in. I want to slap him across the face with a 2x4 really hard, repeatedly. He needs to piss the fuck off. And that, thank God, is the end of the book. Stick a fork in me. I'm done. But let me summarize for you. The universe tries to protect you and alert you with a bad feeling, like Shanann did when Asshat kept pestering her for a date until she gave in. Your gut knows what's up. Trust that bitch. Don't trust everything you see. Even salt looks like sugar. Salty shit can be disguised as sweet shit. Much love and peace. Thank you for listening.